Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a special look at an expansion for Everdell, one of my favorite games, published by Starling Games and designed by James A. Wilson. Now, this is a 1 to 4 player game, and this expansion is Everdell Mistwood, which is primarily centered around the 1 to 2 player experience for the game. It has a lot of really cool components that come with the game, a lot of really cool changes to a new enemy that you get to face in Everdell, and it has some stuff that you could just mix in with the base game of Everdell. Let's go ahead down to the table. I'm going to show you how to play this game, show you what comes with this game, show you how to set it up with the base game. So let's go ahead down to the table and I'll show you all that stuff. All right, so this is Everdell Mistwood. Everdell Mistwood is going to come with everything that you see down here. The base game's up there. So first, let's go over what you get with the game. So what you get with this expansion is you're going to get 3 new animals that you can play during the game. So you could play as the stoats, you could play as the pigs, or you could play as the butterflies. These are 3 different animals that you can pick to play throughout the game itself. You'll get the rabbit ambassadors, the rabbit and the frog ambassadors for each of them. You also get the Nightweave. So she has the large meeple that's up there, and then she also has her little spiderlings. You get 8 of those. You're also going to get a rabbit and frog ambassador for her. And she's compatible with just about every expansion, depending on what modules you use and such. Stuff for her is going to be down here. You're going to get personality cards. You're going to get these are going to be plan cards, and these are plot cards. You also get these cards that you could set the difficulty for the Nightweaver, and you're going to get her Nightweaver deck, which tells you what she does every turn. These cards along the top here are going to be cards that you can mix in with the base game and other expansions. We're going to just go over all those here in a second, but you're going to get basically 4 different stacks of those. You'll also get this die here that you can use instead of the 8-sided die that comes with the game. If you use, I believe it's expansion with the train, New Leaf probably, I think, that you would have 3 extra spots on the board that you're going to have to pick from. So you use this die to have the Nightweave pick where she's going to, 4 extra spots, sorry, 12. So that's what you're going to get with this game. Let's show you what this expansion does for Everdell. And the first thing we're going to start off with is we're going to start off with the cards that you can play with the base game just in general. So nothing that really is going to change the base game, just going to add to the base game itself. So the first one we're going to look at is going to be the easiest one. This one here, these cards are going to just simply replace all the farm cards in the game. Now each of these is going to have, well, most all of these are going to have different amounts that you're going to have to pay to play them out. And they have new different harvesting abilities on here. Like here you'll gain one berry, sorry. Here you can gain a berry, or you can activate another one of these type of cards in your city. And a lot of them have ores, like here you get a berry, or you could get a twig. This one here, you can gain a berry, or you may discard this farm to gain 1 stick, 1 resin, and draw 1 card. This one here, same, berry or to draw 2 cards, berry or gain 1 resin, berry or gain 1 point, or just gain 1 berry. So these will replace the farm cards in the base game. You'll just take those out and you put these in this place. These are just something that you would just add in. They don't really add much more to the complexity, but they make these cards unique, which I really, really like. So that's that. The other one is you can use Corin, which is the hero of the whole Everdell game here, and you can just shuffle these cards in. These cards are pretty darn powerful. This is Corin Everdell, the warrior. You can give up 8 cards and or resources to gain 1 point for each gift. Also, when you put this out, is worth 2 points, which is really cool. This one here is Corin Evertell the King. This is 4 points. It's a unique, all these are unique critters, by the way. You're going to gain 1 point for each of these type of buildings or critters in your city. This one here is Corin Evertell the Leader. Every time you draw a card, you may give one of those cards to an opponent and gain 1 point. So when you draw cards are meh, you can get some points off of them. This is Corin Evertell Field. This one's going to gain 1 berry and gain 1 berry for each farm in all opponent cities. Those opponents draw 1 card for each of the farms they have. And here we have the final one. We have Corin Evertell's Path. This one's going to be one of those red locations. So if you go there, you could get those get the bonus here. If other players go there, they can get it too. You can activate any location occupied by an opponent. So it's a really powerful card there. And it's super powerful, so it's worth 0 points. But those are just some cards that you can add in, and this is like a little tiny module that you can throw in. The other module here is going to have legendary creatures and legendary buildings here. You can tell because they say legendary critter. Now the legendary critter itself, you can replace it with what's up in the banner here. So if you have a shopkeeper, you can replace it with Terry Hare. And Terry Hare is going to be worth 4 points, and it has gain a resource after you play a critter, draw 2 after you play a construction. So it's pretty powerful. Now, a couple things to note about these type of cards here. If you replace the shopkeeper, it's free. Otherwise, you have to pay the resource value. But either way, you can't have a shopkeeper and Terry Hare in your area. You have to either replace the shopkeeper, and if you don't replace the shopkeeper, you can never play the shopkeeper. Just to keep that in mind. This one here is going to give you your own red space, and this is going to be one that could replace the ranger. And I think all of these are worth, well, here's one, there's 5, but there are 4 or 5 points, I think. Oh, there's a 2. Yeah, most of them are 4 though. All right, so this one here, Stray Soft Paw. If you go here, you may activate 2 deployed workers on a basic or forest location for yourself, either yours or your opponent's. This one here is really cool. It's going to be this is one of the buildings here you can get. This one is going to be the Strong Root Castle. It's a legendary construction. This one here is worth 4 points, 2 points for each common construction in your city at the end of the game. This one here is going to be replace the Gatherer, which if you notice from this, the Gatherer is also the wife. So don't forget that. And they have that handy dandy card to remind you of that. So it's worth 5 points at the end of the game. 5 points if paired with a Harvester. So remember, on here, the Harvester is the husband. So if you pair the wife with the husband, Gatherer with the Harvester, you'll get those bonus 5 points at the end of the game. This one here is King North Treasury. It's 4 points. There's a resource cost on the side. When played, place 4 points here. When playing critters or constructions, you may pay any points from here to decrease the cost by 2 resources for each point that you use. So this is pretty cool for being able to place other places out. This one here replaces the Bard. This is your good gold wing. Here you gain 1 point for each card in your hand up to 8. So that's pretty cool. This one here is going to be Everflame Tomb. It gives you 2 spots that can go to, and you can play a card for free. This one here is going to be Dark Deep Prison. Discard up to 2 critters from your city. Gain 3 resources and 3 points for each critter you discarded. This one here is going to be Click-Clacks, sorry. Gain 3 berries, plus 1 of any resource for each farm in your city. So that's a really good harvest card. This one is the last one here. It's going to replace the Chip Sweep, or you'll pay the resources again, either way. And you could activate 2 different production cards in your city. So that's pretty cool. That is the 3 main big card modules you can put in, but this one here also gives you those asymmetric powers. So if you don't have the expansion with the additional asymmetric powers, then you can just use these. Each player would get one randomly. And you have the spiders, you have the butterflies, you have the stoats, you have the pigs. So here's the stoats, pigs, and butterflies. So these directly are the spiders, which you can actually play with themselves. So these could actually be critters that you play in the game itself. So they have a sneaky ability, boundless, planners, and master farmers. So we're just going to look at one of these. So we'll look at pigs. Master farmer. Begin the game with all the farm cards in a face-up stack in your area. At the beginning of each season, you may play the top farm card for free. Farmers do not take up space in your city, which is very important for this card. If your opponent plays a farm, you gain 2 points. So basically, these asymmetric powers give you like a different sort of advantage and something to go after in the game. So that's it. These are the modules that you can use in the base game. The next thing we're going to go over is how the Nightweaver work and what these things are here. All right, so the Nightweaver is going to be a module that you're going to play with 1 to 2 players. So it doesn't have to be solo. You can play it with another player. And the setup does depend on how many players that you are playing with. But in general, this board right here, this is the Nightweaver board. You're always going to set it out. You will be able to see all the rules and how to play Nightweaver basically on these 2 boards. So it's a really good reference also throughout the game. You also will place these web tokens off to the side. You're going to place the spider queen here, the Nightweaver, and you're going to have 2 of her spiderlings there. You're going to place these other spiderlings on these locations, and you're going to look, and like this one will say you get 1 spiderling, 2 spiderlings, and 3 spiderlings. So you'll place those accordingly. This also tells you what happens when the Nightweaver goes to each of those seasons itself. The other thing you're going to put out is these tokens here. These tokens here are going to show you what season you're on specifically for the Nightweaver. They're double-sided here, so you'll flip them as you go by, as time goes by. So you place those out with the winter side up because you're going to start in the winter season. You're going to then also place the 8-sided die from the base game here. You're going to need that. So that's going to go to the spider Nightweaver. You are also going to give the Nightweaver a card. So a card from the deck. The Nightweaver will start out with 1. We'll put it right here. That's going to be the Nightweaver's hand. Now the Nightweaver, actually we'll just set it over here. So the Nightweaver, well, doesn't really matter. We'll set it somewhere. Nightweaver's hand will start with 1. And you're going to pick a difficulty level for the Nightweaver. Now there's several different difficulty levels here. As you can see, here's going to be you have a tame level, you have a tricky level, you have a troublesome level, you have a tormenting level, you have a terrifying level. So basically, like on this one here, if we look very carefully, we can see how it actually will change the scoring for the Nightweaver here. These are going to be the same points for city cards, point tokens, journey points, basic events, wonders, discovery cards, all expeditions, Garland awards, and here you're going to have some of, instead of the printed value, so special events are going to be worth 3 points each. Pearl is worth 2 points each, and adornments are worth 3 points each. And you can see how these scorings will actually change as it becomes more and more difficult to do things, or more and more difficulty levels. So that's basically it. That's what really these things do, is they're going to change the scoring for the Nightweaver. So you're going to pick what difficulty you want. Obviously, you'll probably pick Tame if it's your first game. And once you place that in, that's going to determine how you're going to score the Nightweaver at the end of the game. So what else do you do for setup? Well, for setup, you're also going to need to set up the activity card deck, which is going to be this one right here. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so you're going to separate these cards out here for the activities and place them in piles. You're going to take all the 8 winter cards, so they have this little winter symbol up here. You're going to place them here for right now. Then you're going to separate out your other cards, which are going to have like spring, summer, and autumn. So let's move these out of the way so we know what's happening. We already know what these cards do, so they'll get out of the way here. So here's going to be like your spring, because you'll notice it has this symbol up here. Here's going to be your autumn cards, because they have the last symbol on here is going to be this, and here's going to be, or summer, sorry, and here's going to be your autumn cards because they have a little leaf on there. Okay, so we can move these out of the way too because we're not going to need them. Make more room here. All right, so the winter cards themselves. So basically, for the winter cards themselves, you're going to look at them here. You're going to get out all the cards that have this little symbol itself on it. Once you have all those cards out, you're going to take out 2. You're going to shuffle up this deck here, so I would shuffle it up. And place it right there. Then I'm going to take one of these cards, I'm going to put it back in the box unseen, and place the other one on top. So this guarantees that this type of card is going to be the first card you're going to draw for the Night Weaver. There is only one other note for setup, and the other note for setup is if you are not playing with Pearl Book, you're going to have to remove the 2 cards, activity cards with this symbol on the top right here from the game. So don't forget that. There's going to be 2 of them. Remove those in there. You can keep the ones that are for New Leaf in there, even if you're not playing with New Leaf. That's fine. The New Leaf expansion symbols on here. I'm not actually sure if you could keep them in here, why they even put the symbol on there, but you can leave them in. They don't need to be removed. So that's it for the main setup of Night Weaver. Now, there is one final part that you can do, and that depends on whether you're going to use any of the bonus modules. There's going to be 3 different bonus modules that you can use. You can use plots, plan, or personalities. So the cards here, so here's going to be your personalities. Now your personalities, you can use this with any of the 1 or 2 player variants of this. The plots and the plans cards here you can only use if you're playing 1 player, so keep that in mind. Also, additionally, for the main board setup, you're going to set up the main board as if it was 1 more player. So if you're playing with 1 player, you're going to set up the main board as if it was for 2 players, and if you're going to play 2 players, you're going to set up the main board as if it was for 3 players. So that's how you set up the main board, and you just follow the normal setup in the base game for that. Just know it's 1 more player than you're actually playing with. So 1 player against 2, you set up the base game for 2 players. 2 players, again, you set up the base game for 3 players. You can also play with the different expansions with the Night Weaver one. That you're going to look in the rules there. There's just some very short setup changes that you might have for each of those. But in general, the modules are going to be the big giant change for it. If you're playing it for the first time, you're probably not going to put any of the modules in, so you get the hang of it. You'll probably do difficulty tame, and you're ready to go. We'll go over what each of these modules do after we go over the basic for the Night Weaver. So the basics for the Night Weaver is she's going to go throughout her game and play and go until all the way back to winter. So she's going to winter, and then she's going to go all through all 4 seasons here. And she may not be on the same season as you, just to keep that in mind. It all depends on where she goes out on the board and how many spiderlings she has left and if she's been deployed. So let's go over what it means to play on her turn. So if you're playing 1 player, the Night Weaver always goes first. The 2 player, Night Weaver will go after you. So there's a couple things that are important with Night Weaver. Night Weaver doesn't collect any resources at all. And doesn't pay resources. So resources don't matter to Night Weaver. This is similar to the original single player mode that you have with Everdell. She just goes out there and takes stuff. Don't worry about the resource cost. Don't worry about the text on there. When Nightweaver builds out buildings, she does not get anything on the bottom. The only thing you care about is going to be points and maybe fulfillment for some of these events. So here's how it's going to go. When Nightweaver takes her turn, she's going to flip the top card over. So depending on what season it is, will determine which one she's going to do. And here's going to be the winter phase. Here, Nightweaver will take a card and then go in that space. So she's going to go out into the field here and take a card, and then she will be in the space. And you can see that symbol up here shows her. So she's going to try to complete this one. If she can't complete this one, she's going to try to complete this one. If she can't complete that, then she has to do the default action on the bottom. If she can't do any of these, it's a big note, she does nothing, which is not going to happen very often. So when the Nightweaver goes out in these spaces here to claim these cards, you're going to place the Nightweaver in wherever you roll. So I'll roll this die. It's going to go to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Nightweaver will go here and automatically build that card. Nightweaver is not going to have to worry about duplicates. Still only can have 15 cards, but it's just going to be a stack of 15 cards. And really concerned about with just what the point value is for those cards. So if Nightweaver goes out here, you're going to take these web tokens, you're going to place them to all adjacent cards, including diagonal. And what that's going to mean is those cards could cost more for an opponent to get them, or different things. And that's going to be used with an expansion. But in general, when the Nightweaver goes out here, if you're not using one of the expansions that makes use of these spider webs, you don't need to worry about it. But the Nightweaver will go there. This card does not get replenished while the Nightweaver is there. And the Nightweaver will stay there until the Nightweaver starts a new season. So again, when we get to those, I'm going to show you what happens. And these will actually create different costs. So you put those spider webs out if you're using that module with Nightweaver. So that's one type of card. There's other type of cards in here that you're going to run into. So this card will flip. Then you'll go to the next card here. So the next card here, you're going to look, it's going to be the winter phase here. And in the winter phase, she's going to just get a card from the field. They're not going to be placing anyone, just gets a card from the field. And when she does that, you will replace that card. Or this one here is get to play a card and get a point. When you get points, you just pile up the little point chips over here, and there's some default actions. So you're going to keep going until each of these spiderlings go out. Now let's show this spiderling card right here. So this says a spiderling needs to go out, and the spiderling needs to go into the pebble slot. Doesn't matter if another person's there, but it does matter if a spider's there. Or needs to go into the third one of these locations. So it would be this one, it would be that one. So that would be, if you didn't have the pebble spot open, it would go there. So the pebble spot up here, if we're taking that, we would just slap that little spider there. That blocks it from other players playing in that area. And here's going to be the Market Haven, which is going to be the default location. This is one of the examples of if this is covered, and this is covered. This is an example of when the Spider Queen or the Nightweaver may not actually do anything. Once all these little guys are out, so let's say this one went over here and blocked that location. Once all these are out, the instant you flip a card that has either this symbol or this symbol, the Nightweaver is going to go into a new season. And there's a couple different things that are going to occur when you go into a new season. The first thing that's going to happen is you're just going to return the Nightweaver and all of her spiderlings to your board. You will, if for the locations out, you'll flop a little new place out. If you had the web tokens out, you would turn those web tokens. You'll flip this token here. You'll look at this board here for spring. She's going to get a new spiderling. We're going to put that over here. And she gets to automatically play one of those cards from the forest here. And so this will be 4, so she'll get that and she'll just put it here. And then you'll flip a new card over. So beyond that, you're going to get the new season's activity cards. You're going to place them in there and you're going to shuffle that all up. Once you've shuffled that all up, you'll have the new activity deck for the Nightweaver. Other things that can happen is Nightweaver can gain one of the event tiles, and if she can gain one of the event tiles, she'll put that into her lair. Now, if she can gain more than one because she qualifies for more than one. You are going to use the tiebreaker to do it. Now, all tiebreakers in the game are going to use this mechanism. So down here, they're going to either be clockwise tiebreakers or counterclockwise tiebreakers, and that's going to determine whether it's going to be the right or the left that she will take, whether it's going to be attacking an opponent right or left with two-player or gaining something. So you're going to use that as the tiebreaker for the game anytime you need to. So in general, that's going to be how she's going to switch seasons. In summer, she'll get 2 more spiders, and she'll draw 2 more cards. In here, she'll get 3 more spiders. She'll gain 2 cards from the forest area, which means you'll just grab them, put them in her hand, and then replace those. Here you're going to gain 2 cards to put her in hand and 2 cards from the forest and gain 3 spiders. So that's when it's going to happen for each seasons. Once she gets to the last season and moves to the next season, she's going to score. Now, she can still gain points while the other players finish the game. So if you go to any of her locations, she's going to immediately get points for going to those locations. Like she built this, if you go to Lookout, she's going to get the 2 points for you going there. If she goes to one of your locations, you will also get the points for that. So if one of the spiderlings end up going out there. A couple other notes to keep aware of for base game here. Again, she doesn't pay any resources. She doesn't care what's on the bottom of these cards at all. She just does her thing. And she's really just there to get points for each of these, the face value in general for each of them at the end of the game. If you are to give her cards, she has no hand limit. So she can have as many cards in her hand as she wants. It's always kept face down, and you always shuffle it. So when new cards come in, you're going to reshuffle it. And she doesn't gain or lose resources or cards or points when her visitors go to locations. If you get points for that, you get them from the main supply, not from her. When you're required to give Nightweaver cards, add them to her hand, and Nightweaver gains 1 point per card that was given to her. When you are required to give Nightweaver resources, discard those resources and draw an equal number of cards from the deck and shuffle them into Nightweaver's hand. She does not gain points for those. Whenever you are required to give Nightweaver points, she will gladly accept them. So she will take points, no problem. Nightweaver again ignores all text on cards and uses those tiebreakers when determining who she attacks or what she gets. So that in general is how you're going to play the solo or 2-player version with Nightweaver. Now let's get into the 3 different modules that you can add to play with Nightweaver. Now personalities is very simple. There's a giant deck of personalities in here. And like you can see, like here's Web Levy, here's going to be Taught in a Web, Venomberry Stew, Unproductive. You can go through and you can pick which one you want. There's a giant stack of these, or you can select one. And they mainly go around the web tokens. So here, place a web token on these 4 basic locations. Nightweaver may not play workers on those locations, but each time you visit one, Nightweaver gains 1 point. Let's see. Go over another one here. Each time you play a production card, Nightweaver gains a point. So with these personality cards, which is going to be how Nightweaver's personality is, this is going to affect the meadow cards and adjacent to Nightweaver when she's in the meadow, unless otherwise stated. Effects in the cards do include diagonal cards, so remember how we put those web tokens out if she jumps out there. Consult the personality card you selected during setup for the specific rules that apply to your current game. Personality card penalties or other effects apply when you play or draw affected cards from the meadow. For any reason, this includes when you play a critter card for free by using occupied token. They do not apply when the meadow cards are discarded. Nightweaver's personality cards trigger immediately when a meadow card is played or drawn before any other effects or possibilities. So again, this is a giant deck of personality cards. You're just going to pick one, and that's going to be the one that you're going to use for the whole game here. But yeah, so And some of them don't have to necessarily do with those web tokens, but when they do, you will be using those web tokens. So that's personality cards. Now, plans and plots, this are only for solo play. And here we're going to have these plots. So we'll go over plots first. Or sorry, plans. They're going to be plans. So here's going to be like web working. Each time you play one of these type of cards here, Nightweaver gains points equal to the point value of that card. So that's pretty powerful. Some of these are going to have foils on them. So you can do these things to foil the card, which will get rid of it. And basically, in general, you're just going to follow the instructions on the plan card itself. So basically, these are long-term plans. You're just going to follow what they say on here, and some of them can be foiled, some of them can't. So that's how basically plans work. Another thing I need to mention is, again, these can be only used in solo mode. Plots and plans cannot be used together, and they can't be used with other expansions. So this is going to be a thing that you can just play with the standalone base game with Nightweaver and one of these modules only. Plots, when Nightweaver prepares for a season, one of the plot cards will replace the previous plot card drawn. So you're going to go through this plot deck here. And there's seasonal plots, one-time plots that will go through the game here, and some of them will use web tokens. So for example, if we look at this one right here, this is going to be Nightweaver the Nefarious. When Nightweaver prepares for a season, see if you can see that okay, she collects all the meadow cards adjacent, but not diagonal, to her and places them in her lair as achievements, and then replenish. And then, like I said, each time you go through a new season, you're going to get a new plot card. And there's not a whole lot of these plot cards, but there's enough to give some sort of random replayability to it. So in a quick nutshell, that is what you're going to get with the Everdell Mistwood expansion. Let's go ahead back up the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on it. Okay, Everdell Mistwood. Now, there's some cool stuff that you can put in the base game without really ever having to use the expansion components in this game. Those things are 3 small modules that you could add, and then I showed you, well, 4 technically. One of them works with an additional expansion to give you those asymmetric powers that are really cool to start off the game. Now, it also comes with a couple new critter types that you can use, and you can even play with the spiders in the game if you want to play as spiders, because there's enough of those little meeples. And then you have the frog ambassador and the rabbit, so you can play with that in the other expansions. The core of this, the majority of the parts, are for that 1 to 2 player experience when you're playing against the Nightweaver. So, the people I would recommend this expansion to the most would be people that play it solo or want to play it 2-player. The component quality for this expansion is amazing. It's just like anything else in Everdell. Really, really good. Card quality great, component quality, the wood or the little wood pieces, all amazing. I like all the cards that you can mix in, and I like the new farms are really cool. But like I said, the core of this is that Nightweaver for that 1 to 2 player experience. And that is very in-depth. They put a lot of thought into this sort of bot that you're going to be playing against in the game. Now, just like the other solo mode, there's a little bit of randomness in it for how bad the boss is going to be based on like what the cards it gets into building in its a little area, its 15 card area. So that's one thing. I do like the so much replayability with this, but I really like that there's multiple different difficulty modes in it. There's those 3 different modules you can add in and out to change how difficult or how the feel basically of playing against the Nightweaver. I like how it interacts with the board. Sometimes a little bit more punishing than others based on that die roll, so another little bit more randomness in there. If the Nightweaver gets into like the middle of the market row, and then it's going to basically block almost all of the cards there. There'll only be like 2 cards left if you're using those little spider webs. So that can be very, very, very punishing. So there's a lot of factors in it. So depending on the mode you pick, depending on the module you pick, the boss can become super hard or mediocre or super easy, and then depending on like what you roll and what cards Nightweaver will randomly play, will add to or remove from its difficulty. And every once in a while, not very often, but every once in a while you will get that Nightweaver does nothing on a turn, which is a nice little respite. The rulebook itself, I don't know if they did different versions of this, because I read through it, I played it, and I've seen other people review it and show how to play it, and it was slightly different. So I don't know if the rulebook has changed over time, but it's also not the easiest to read out of the Everdell series. So the rulebook, some of the ways that they wrote the rules in there are a little weird, and they broke up like explanation of the modules, which makes no sense. They should have kept them all in one spot. So that's my only negative with this expansion, is that I wasn't a real big fan of how they wrote this particular world book for this expansion. And again, if you're looking for your 3 or 4 player experience for Everdell and getting an expansion to enhance that 3 to 4 player experience, I am not sure this expansion is worth it. It is great, but it doesn't add a lot to that 3 to 4 player experience. You get those 4 different modules you can, of just small amounts of cards that really don't change the game much at all. So yeah, so for the 3 to 4 player experience, I'm not sure that I would recommend this expansion, but if you're looking for solo or 2 player experience, so if you play with a significant other every night and you play get out your game of Everdell, this would be an amazing expansion to get for that. So I think it really super enhances the 2 player feel to the game. Also, if you like solo, this is a valid, well thought out solo mode for the game that has a ton of replayability for it. A lot of solo modes, you're going to play them a couple times and you're done. You know, you've done it. You've mastered the solo. This one here, there's so many, like there's the 3 different modules. Each of those modules, there's tons of different cards for it, for the personality and plots, and so there's tons of different feels that you're going to get for playing against that AI Nightweaver. And to top that all off, you have those multiple different difficulty levels you can use. So you can get a ton of replayability in the solo mode of this, which can't be said for a lot of games that have solo mode. So this is one of the, I don't really play a lot of solo modes of games, but this is one of the best ones I've ever seen. So keep that in mind. I'm not really a huge solo player, but I thought this was just amazing what they did with that. So that's my thoughts on Everdell Mistwood. I hope you liked the explanation, overview, and all that fun stuff. If you liked it, please like and subscribe us. It really, really helps. But that's my thoughts on this game. Thank you for watching.